Hey everyone, it's your buddy back again with another exciting fanfic, which is What If Naruto Got Harem with Hinata and Anko Part 3. If you enjoy this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more fanfics like this. Now, let's dive right into the fanfic. Naruto was grinning as he ran down the streets towards Training Ground 17. Today was his first day of training. Today would also be the day of his first mission. The blonde truly felt like a shinobi and he was happy about it. This is it. This is where my journey to become Hokage truly begins, Dadbeo. He mentally declared to himself as he left the houses of Konoha and was reaching the outer areas where the training grounds were. It didn't take long for the Uzumaki to find the training grounds. The boy was cutting it close on time, however, which explained why his other two teammates and his sensei were already present. Last one here. I expected more from the future Hokage. Anko taunted the boy. Naruto's eyes narrowed on her. You be quiet, Anko-sensei. I'm on time, Dadbeo. Lighten up, boy. Just a joke. For a prankster, you take things too seriously. The woman laughed in response. Naruto didn't say anything in response. He only slightly frowned as he made his way over to his two friends. He greeted both of them with a high five before he turned back to his sensei. It was at this time that Naruto noticed that the woman had a large, plain brown bag that she was carrying on her back. Well, we are all here, why not we just start now? He asked. Why not? We are only 2 minutes ahead of schedule anyway. The snake summoner shrugged before beginning her explanation. Okay, just giving you all a heads up, this is how our daily schedules will work. We start each day with a warm-up, which could take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, depending on my mood. After that, then I'll work on some group training work. This may include teamwork, chakra control, jutsus, weapons, etc. Really anything you all can be trained on as a team. Finally, after that, I'll make 2 shadow clones and then or my clones, will work directly one-on-one with each of you on specialized training. When that's all done, we will go to the Hokage's tower and see if there are any missions available. Is all of that understood? Yes, sensei. All 3 genin replied. Alright, now, before the warm-up and before I forget, take one of these. Anko informed her students as she gave them each a slip of paper. And what are these for, sensei? Naruto asked as he stared at his paper. Well, Whiskers, these chakra papers are for finding out your natural element. She responded with a smirk. Naruto's look of confusion morphed into one of excitement. Thanks to his last-minute paying attention to Iruka's lessons, he remembered the discussion on nature affinities. He knew exactly what they were and he was excited. Just a heads up, I won't really be teaching you Brat's nature manipulation just yet. Anko informed them. But, I still want to do this for 2 reasons. For one, I can have it for a reference for later on. And 2, when I start teaching you guys jutsu, I know what type of jutsus will be easier and more effective for you all to learn. The Tokubetsu Jonin pulls out her own chakra paper and applies her chakra into. The paper immediately lights itself on fire and starts to burn. Whoa! Naruto gasps, staring wide-eyed at the fire. Pretty cool, huh? The purple-haired woman asks as she crushes the paper in her hand, putting out the fire. If it wasn't obvious, the burning and fire means I am a fire type. Naturally. But enough about me. This about you brats. Now, put some chakra into your papers and let's find out your affinities. The 3 genin nodded and followed their sensei's request. Hinata was the first to have her paper react. Her paper was soaked, causing water to drip down the girl's hand. Water element. Nice. Anko informed her. Probably the most flexible and versatile element of all 5. Great offense and defense, and it's good with short and long range. You've got a lot of things you can do with it, especially if you actually get good with it. Yep. You got a pretty damn good element. Really? Hinata asked, a smile growing on her face. She seemed proud to hear she had an element that could be useful in multiple areas. Anko nodded, then turned her attention over to Naruto. His chakra paper was split in half. Wind element, huh? Very rare in Konoha. You're like, what? The second one we got. Anko noted. Nevertheless, great element. Single greatest attacking element in close and mid-range and also great for support techniques. Very useful element indeed. Hey, awesome. Naruto cheered loudly. Anko didn't pay too much attention to his screaming. Instead, she was currently gaping at the sight of the Nara boy. The paper he was currently holding had lit on fire. Really? Really? Anko mumbled in disbelief. Of all three of you, Lazy SS is the only one with my natural affinity. Really? Troublesome. Shikamaru simply stated as he stopped applying chakra and ended the fire. Quote. I'll just stick with my clan's shadow techniques. Oh no you don't boy. If you have a fire affinity, I'll be working on that thing. Who knows, maybe I'll get you to be more active or something. The Tokubetsu Jonin informed him. She was now sporting a grin at how training with Shikamaru's fire affinity will go. The Nara was starting to grow nervous. Ahem, anyway, yeah, I just wanted to get that in for a reference for later. Anko stated, getting everyone's attention. Anyway, let's get to work with warm-ups. Let's begin. Yes Anko-sensei. The three genin said in unison as they faced their sensei, ready to do any warm-up she had planned. What started off as a harmless, normal warm-up turned into a training session from hell for the genin. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru laid on the ground, tired and panting while Anko stood above them, frowning. Ah, come on brats. It wasn't that bad, she replied. Not that bad. You call doing 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, and 50 laps around the training field not that bad? Naruto asked incredulously. That's also not mentioning the kunai you would throw at us whenever we stopped for a few seconds, or the times where you forced us to start over because of some troublesome reason. Shikamaru added, glaring at the woman in front of him. She's worse than my mom. Good lord, this is a pain. Seriously, it isn't bad. You should see what Guy does to his genin squad. Anko responded nonchalantly. Despite all of his rude remarks towards her, Hinata felt deep sympathy for her cousin, Neji, if Anko's words about his sensei were true. What could honestly be worse than this? Anyway, that concludes your warm-up for today. The Tokubetsu Jonin told them with a smile. The three genin took this time to get up. Now, onto group training. Today's focus. Chakra control. Damn it. This is going to be just like with mom, but worse, again. Shikamaru groaned in his head. Naruto and Hinata were experiencing similar thoughts with Yoshino in mind. Now, just curious, do you guys know how to climb trees with only your feet? The sensei asked. The genin nodded in response. Oh, I see. I'd take you to practice water walking, but there's no water here, guess I'll have to do that later. For now, I'll just work on improving your tree walking. The snake summoner led the genin members of Team 3 towards the forest near the training grounds. She stood in front of 3 trees in particular. Okay, brats, today's lesson plan is this: climb up the trees and get to the branches. Then keep walking underneath the branches and hold your positions there. Anko ordered. Huh, that's it? Naruto asked. We'll see. She shrugged in response. Anyway, the day's going on. Get a move on. With those words, the 3 genin rushed up their tree as quickly as they could. They all got on the underside of the top branch on their trees and stood there. Hey, this won't be that bad. Naruto told his 2 friends with a laugh. He had no clue how wrong he was. Once again, all 3 genin were laying on the ground by their trees in exhaustion. This time, chakra exhaustion was added with their physical exhaustion. Anko had decided that they weren't being challenged enough, so she ordered them to hop from tree branch to tree branch in the forest while underneath the tree. This was naturally harder to do than being above the tree and required even more chakra control and balance. Anko would also, once again, throw kunai at her students when they showed signs of tiredness to urge them to keep moving and training. Come on brats, Get up. We need to do individual training now. Anko reminded them with a smile. The three genin got up once again, this time more slowly. You're a sadist, you know that. Shikamaru informed her with a deep breath. Yup. The woman responded. Just give a few minutes to relax please Anko-sensei. Hinata requested. The Tokubetsu Jonin sighed. Fine, fine. I'll give you guys 15 minutes to take a break. Just be ready when you're done. With those words, the three kids passed out on the ground in exhaustion once again. Well, at least I'm getting stronger Dadbeo. Naruto told himself, thinking on the positive side. When all three genin were finished calming themselves down, Anko made the hand sign for the shadow clone jutsu. Two clones appeared in a poof of smoke and stared at the genin. Okay brats, just saying. My clones will be working with Whiskers and Lazy SS. They'll lead you somewhere else on the training grounds. That means Stutters-chan gets time here with me. Hinata released a small eep, while Shikamaru and Naruto merely nodded. Anko's clones ushered for them to follow down different paths. The two boys did just that. They were eventually gone, leaving Hinata alone with her sensei. Well, just you and me. The purple-haired woman stated with her trademark sadistic grin. Why yes, her student replied nervously. No need to be nervous. Now, for today's first day of training, I am going to teach you how to use a weapon. Anko informed the Hyuga heiress as she started digging in the bag she was holding. What? What W weapon? Hinata asked, a little curious and nervous. And why a weapon? Most Hyuga D don't use W weapons in their fighting style. Anko was about to pull out the weapon of her choosing before she registered what Hinata had just said. She put her bag down for a second with a sigh and turned to her student. Hinata, I actually don't mind you, so I feel I should ask you, can I be brutally honest about your clan? The Tokubetsu Jonin asked. The Hyuga heiress nearly gasped at her sensei's words. For starters, this was the first time she actually referred to her by her real name, not the nickname she was assigned. Also, her sensei was actually asking for permission to say what's on her mind. Oh of course. Say anything. Hinata replied. She felt happy that her sensei actually asked her, but she was also nervous about what her sensei would say. Your clan is the biggest group of idiots in Konoha. Anko stated rather bluntly. Hinata's eyes only slightly widened, having expected an insult. She merely remained silent, however, waiting to hear her sensei's words. You see, you guys possess the Byakugan, a dojutsu that allows you 360-degree vision in addition to see through walls and see people's chakra. However, the only thing your clan really uses it for is the gentle fist. Now, don't get me wrong, the gentle fist is pretty damn deadly and effective and makes a Hyuga a hell of an opponent. Having said that, that is really all you use your eyes for. Anko explained her reasoning. A Hyuga would make probably one of the best damn medics, since you can see directly through a person and into their body systems, but you guys never become medics because of tradition. The snake summoner rolled her eyes at her own words. Hinata frowned as well. She actually had an interest in medical ninjutsu and even designed her own healing salves and medicine. Still, she knew she wouldn't be allowed to become a medical ninja. It would be considered impractical, a waste of time, and disgraceful to her clan. There's also another thing your clan fails to use your eyes for: long-range attacks. Anko continued in her rant. You guys have such great vision that you could see enemy shinobi coming from far distances. And yet, you are all close to mid-range fighters only. Yeah, just no. Anko finally ended up going back to her bag and pulling out the weapon she was getting earlier. Hinata's eyes wandered to it and gasped at what she saw. Her sensei was holding a bow and arrow set. Yeah, I decided that you should capitalize on what your eyes can do. So, I'm going to work with you on developing your long-range skills. I'll teach you some jutsus later on when you can learn them. For now, though, let's work on developing your archery. She declared, handing over the bow and arrows to the Hyuga. Hinata held the wooden bow in her hands tightly. She instinctively moved her hand back and forth down its limbs, trying to get a feel for her weapon. The Hyuga then had another thought come into her head. Byakugan, she shouted, activating her dujutsu. Her vision expanded greatly, showing her everything around her due to her eyes' range. For the first time in a while, though, Hinata noticed just how far she could see with her eyes. I'd say I can see about a little more than a kilometer. I can see far away trees with fruit that I could shoot down. I know if there was a ninja there, I could see them and would be able to fire at them. Hinata thought, excitedly. And I can even increase my vision with more practice. So you just how deadly you could be, don't you? Anko asked her student. Get you some practice, and you could make yourself Konoha's single greatest long-distance fighter. And if somehow an enemy survived past your assaults from a distance, you'd have the gentle fist for when they get too close. Hinata felt determination rush through her body. She immediately took out an arrow and placed it on the arrow rest as she started to aim at a faraway apple in a tree. Anko saw this determination and her grin grew even larger. Now, I may not be good with a bow, but I have some scrolls and I know the basics. So, Stutters-chan, let's work on your skill with a bow. The Tokubetsu Jonin declared. Naruto was led by one of the Anko clones to a separate area of the training ground. They were near the edge and were surrounded by nearby trees with targets on them. Are we done walking? Can we begin now, Anko-sensei? Naruto asked in a bored tone. Can it whiskers? But yes, we are done. This'll do. The Anko clone replied as she came to a stop. Awesome. Then, what do you have to teach me? Huh? The blonde questioned, getting up in his sensei's face. Whoa. Back up there, brat. The purple-haired woman ordered with a sigh. Anyway, because of your large chakra supply, it's safe to say you're the ninjutsu type of shinobi. So, we're working on teaching you some wind-style ninjutsu. Naruto proceeded to jump up and down in place, excitement running through him. Hell yeah, time to learn some kick-ass ninjutsu. He declared. Simmer down, kid. We aren't teaching you that good of ninjutsu yet. You got to learn and work your way up through practice. Anyway, I have a jutsu I think you might could learn now. The clone informed him. The Tokubetsu Jonin stepped forward and made a 5-hand signs. After her last one, she took in a deep breath and faced a target. Fuden. Great breakthrough. The clone then released a gust of wind that blasted forwards. It cut into the nearby trees in front of her and obliterated the targets on them. Naruto stared in awe at the work of the ninjutsu. The blast of wind actually knocked him back a little bit and he could see just how much damage the jutsu did to the trees and the targets. He was very impressed and excited. That's the great breakthrough. It's C rank and primarily a short to mid-range offensive type. As you can see, it packs a pretty good punch. The Anko clone noted, impressed by her work. It can be made better with practice though, especially if the user actually is a wind type. Naruto's eyes gleamed at that. Hell yeah, I'll make that jutsu mine dadbao. Anko-sensei, can you show me the hand signs again? The boy asked, clearly ready and excited. After watching Anko make the hand signs one more time, Naruto turned to face the same trees that his sensei was in front. He made the same 5-hand signs before taking a deep breath himself. Fuden. Great breakthrough. Naruto released his breath and tried to release the wind. No wind shot forward, however. A tiny breeze of wind could be felt, but Naruto couldn't tell if that was cause of his jutsu or not. Anko's sweat dropped. To be honest, I was expecting him to fail at the first time cause of putting too much uncontrolled chakra. How the hell did he fail to create it? Damn it. The boy complained. Whatever, I'll get it down this dadbao. The Anko clone continued to watch Naruto practice the jutsu, ready to give any hints she could to help him learn. Naruto continued to practice, dead set on learning this jutsu. Shikamaru couldn't help but feel suspicious and slightly nervous as the Anko clone took him to his separate part of the training ground. Every few seconds, the clone would turn its head and stare at Shikamaru as if he was prey. The look would then go away as the purple-haired woman would pay attention to what way she was going. That didn't stop her from still looking at him like that though. The boy continued to watch with her suspicion. Finally, Anko stopped walking when they reached a small area in the training ground. Their location was a simple wide open field with nothing present. No trees, no practice dummies, nothing. It was in this area that Anko immediately charged at Shikamaru, readying her fist to punch him. The young Nara's eyes widened as he barely managed to get out of the way in time. He then put distance between him and the clone as fast as he could. Anko-sensei, what are you doing? He asked, his voice a little shaky from being caught off guard. Training you, she replied as she charged at him again, this time going faster. Shikamaru was unable to avoid this blow. He took the fist straight in his face and fell to the ground in pain. He got up as quickly as he could and glared at his sensei as he made more distance. You should have seriously been able to dodge that. Anko pointed out. What's the point of this? The Nara grumbled in response as he got into position to fight off another blow. Sure enough, the clone charged at him again. The boy was able to block this hit and began to engage his sensei's clone in a fight. Well, basically, I noticed something about you lazy SS, your reflexes and physical strength suck. The purple-haired woman told him bluntly as she attempted to deliver a kick at him. She made contact and knocked him down after a strike to his stomach. I noticed that in the test yesterday you didn't get involved really in the physical fighting, just all the planning and strategy. And according to the academy tests, you have one of the worst taijutsus. So, until we can work on your weaknesses and improve them, you're going to be stuck fighting me each day. Shikamaru groaned as he got himself up, both in pain and annoyance. He had heard the complaints about his taijutsu already too many times, from the academy teachers and his parents. This was nothing new to him. He couldn't help but get annoyed at his sensei's training. Is that all? He grumbled after he was finally up and ready to continue fighting. Yeah, basically, I am going to force some physical strength skills into you lazy SS. So be prepared, she shouted as she charged again. Shikamaru sighed, mumbling something about pains in the sizz before he got into position to fight off his sensei. After an hour of individual training, Anko ended the sessions and closed training for the day. All three genin seemed to be excited about this concept. Shikamaru was the most excited. He was completely exhausted having to deal with Anko's one-on-one physical training in addition to the previous sessions with his teammates. The boy was completely drained and he was surprised he was still standing. I am taking the first chance I get to take a nap. I really need one. Troublesome woman, he complained. Hinata was not nearly as tired as her lazy friend was, but she was sore in her hands and her eyes. She had been practicing her skill with the bow and arrow the entire time, attempting to hit faraway targets to make herself a skilled long-range fighter. At first, in the words of her sensei, she soused horribly. Still, with each arrow fired, she was getting better. By the end of the session, the Hyuga was finally starting to get the concept. If I can get it down perfectly, that'll make me even better of a ninja. It'll make me stronger for my team, for Naruto-kun. She mentally thought, creating more determination to learn to use the bow. Naruto was the least tired in the group. His endurance and stamina was finally starting to kick in and he was able to spend his entire time practicing his jutsu. After many failed attempts from using too much or too little chakra, Naruto finally was able to create a slightly strong gust of wind with the great breakthrough. Now, he only needed to perfect it and make it a stronger jutsu. I just need to work on it. More practice, then I'll move on to the next. Naruto thought excitedly. Well, I guess that's it for training. I'll admit, I was hard on you guys, but you all are doing a damn good job. Anko told them with a smile. All three genin, even Shikamaru, felt joy at their sensei's words. Anyway, now it's mission time. Anko told them with a sigh. Yes. Finally. First mission Datbao. Naruto cheered loudly. Hopefully the mission won't upset Naruto-kun. Hinata thought to herself. She remembered Iruka's lesson on mission ranks and knew they were going to get a D rank. She knew it would be too easy for Naruto, and she was worried for his reaction. Damn it. I really wanted to get some rest. Shikamaru groaned. Well, let's go and get this over with. Anko mumbled with a sigh, leading the way for her genin squad to the Hokage Tower. Please don't be too easy. Please don't be too easy. The young Uzumaki had many expectations for his first mission. He had wondered what great mission would he be able to say was his first. An assassination mission of a dangerous criminal. Protecting royalty from S-class invaders. Infiltration to learn enemy secrets. Naruto had many expectations and ideas for his first mission. None of them involved pulling weeds. Are you kidding me? Naruto screamed in complaint as he pulled up another weed. Hey, shut up, brat. Wasn't it you who said that gardening was one of his favorite hobbies? Anko sneered in response as she helped pick up weeds with her team. Yeah, but that's different. I like picking out the plants, watering them, and watching them grow. I don't like picking weeds though. I hate weeds. The blonde roared as he picked up another weed. Hinata couldn't help but giggle at her crush's rather comedic frustration, but she completely sympathized. She liked growing plants and pressing flowers, so she knew how evil weeds were. She was not enjoying this mission just as much as he was. Shikamaru didn't even register his friend's comments. He was currently using his friend's loudness as a cover for him to take a break and try and nap. Despite snapping at the boy, Anko completely understood the boy's disappointment and complaining. She couldn't believe just how boring this mission was. It was worse than she remembered. How many more missions till I can request AC rank? Please, come soon. Anko thought in desperation as she picked up another weed herself. Days passed since the first day of training. The 4 members of Team 3 eventually fell into routine with the hard work of their first day. Each day, they would meet up at the training ground and begin the training exactly like they did earlier. After training was complete, they would perform a D-rank mission from the Hokage before being dismissed for the day. Anko couldn't help but notice that her genin were indeed getting stronger. Physically, the warm-ups were helping them get tougher and get them more stamina. Their chakra control as a whole was also improving. The Tokubetsu Jonin took them out to practice water walking during their first week, and after a few days, the 3 were able to get to the hang of it. Shikamaru was probably showing the biggest signs of development. The boy had went through the most rigid physical program under Anko. Although he was still a lazy sizz, the boy had indeed improved to Anko's standards. He was getting tougher and his reflexes had improved. His taijutsu was actually getting to the point of being decent to his sensei. When he reached this level, his one-on-one fights with Anko stopped and she spent her time working on his specialty, tactics and planning. Hinata also grew in her skill set. After days of practice, the girl had picked up a real talent for archery. She grew to really like her bow and arrow set and carried it around with her in a black backpack at all times. The girl's training was making her very good at fighting in long range and was also improving her vision's distance with constant use of the Byakugan. Naruto had spent most of his time in his practice sessions working on the great breakthrough. Even after he got the jutsu down, he wanted to make it stronger and perfect it. After a few sessions, the boy had managed to get a gust of wind strong enough to knock down multiple trees at once. Even his clones could now perform the jutsu with some ease. The boy was growing very excited and confident in his abilities with jutsu. Team 3's sensei noticed the growth and development in all 3 of her students. She couldn't help but feel some pride in their progress. She recognized in the test that the 3 would be great shinobi, but she never realized to what extent. Hey, if they keep this up, they'll be something of legend of someday. That'll make me legendary too, as I taught them. Anko mentally noted with a laugh. She continued to watch over their progress and assist in their training in any way she could. Over time, Being a sensei seemed easier and more natural to her. She was getting the hang of things and was able to assist her team in more ways as the days went by. Days soon turned to weeks. Team 3 continued to grow in strength and skill. Their development continued to be more apparent as time went by. Still, the squad had been stuck doing D-rank missions since their beginning. All three members, even Shikamaru and Hinata, would agree that they were ready for a higher level mission. Back for another mission. Team 3. Sarutobi Hiruzen asks the Genin team cheerfully as all four members walk into his office. Yes sir. Hinata speaks up for her team after realizing that no one else is going to say anything. The Hokage nods at the Hyuga's words and immediately looks at a list of all the available missions for the team. Well, there are some houses that need to be painted in the southern part of Konoha. And it seems like the daimyo's cat has escaped again, he mentioned as he looked over the list. Anko's eyes widened exponentially. Shit. Abort mission. Must convince him of something else. Just no more damn cat. Hokage-sama, don't you think we deserve a C rank mission now? I mean, we've done plenty of D ranks. Anko asked, laughing nervously. Who is Stutters-chan now, Anko-sensei? Naruto asked, teasing his sensei for the sudden stuttering. Hinata giggled in response. But she's right. Come on old man, give us a C rank mission already. A C rank? The Hokage asked. Do you think your team can handle one? Well, Hokage-sama, my team has done plenty of missions over the past 2 weeks. They've completed more than enough D ranks necessary to request one, and I can say that from watching them, they're tough. They could handle one. Anko informed him. Her nerves seemed to go away and she felt more confident that she could get a C rank mission allowed. The Hokage seemed to nod in understanding. He took out another list of missions and started to look at it, to see if there was an appropriate mission to assign to Team 3. Anko crossed her fingers while the Hokage searched. I think I found one, he declared as he pointed to one. He then started digging through a scroll with the mission contents in more detail. Anko and Naruto began cheering loudly at the Hokage's words. Yes. No cat, she screamed excitedly. Finally. A real mission. Naruto yelled nearly as loud as her. The boy, in his excitement, immediately latched on to the person standing next to him. That person happened to be Hinata, who immediately turned a dark red and promptly fainted in his arms after a surprised meep escaped her mouth. Oh, sorry about that, Hinata, Naruto started to say before he realized that the girl in his arms was unconscious. Hinata, are you okay? Wake up. Hinata's fainting only caused Anko to burst out into even more laughter. Shikamaru merely rolled his eyes in response. How does that idiot not know that she likes him? He'll have to learn eventually. Or maybe someone will point it out to him someday. But even then, he'd probably still be confused. Troublesome. Shikamaru thought to himself about his friend and his obliviousness. The Hokage couldn't help but chuckle at the display in front of him. Oh, to be young again. After getting out all of the laughter, the Hokage started to speak to the awake members of Team 3. Your mission is an escort mission to Kusa no Kuni. You'll be escorting a wealthy merchant from Tsuchi no Kuni, who is currently traveling in Hai no Kuni to see family. You will take him to the Tenchi Bridge, where you will meet a team of Iwa shinobi. They will then take the merchant and escort him back home in your place. The Hokage gave a brief synopsis of the mission. Sweet. Iwa is involved. This isn't some normal boring C rank. This is a good one, guarantee. Anko inwardly cheered. Iwa. Naruto frowned in response. Why do we have to deal with those punks, Dadbayo? We could just take him all the way home. For various reasons, Naruto. First of all, this was how the client requested the mission. He already sent out the request to Iwa and Konoha months in advance about the missions, so Iwa already has the mission. Second, Iwa is in Tsuchi no Kuni and it only makes sense that they bring the merchant home themselves. Finally, this mission is one of a few ways that I'm hoping can bridge the hostility between Konoha and Iwa. The war ended years ago and it's time that we look past what happened during it. The Sandaime explained the reasoning. Naruto seemed to accept the reasoning of the old man, but he still didn't seem happy. Stupid Iwa. So, when exactly is the mission? And who is our client? All we know is that he is just some rich merchant. Shikamaru asked for the group. Your mission starts tomorrow. That's the day your client is expected to leave Konoha by. As for who he is, I will have Anko meet with him in his hotel room after we are done here. The rest of you will meet him tomorrow. Sarutobi informed him. Hokage-sama, what about Hinata? Naruto asked, his voice with concern towards the girl still passed out in his arms. Sarutobi let out another laugh. Just inform of the mission and what you will be doing when she wakes up. Naruto nodded in response, still looking at his friend. If there are no more questions, then the genin are all dismissed. The Hokage informed them. Naruto and Shikamaru said goodbye to the Hokage and their sensei before leaving the room, with Naruto carrying the still passed out Hinata. Anko and Sarutobi watched the genin leave, both laughing at the display. Oh, those brats. Something about them, Anko stated in between her laughter. You've seen to taken a soft spot to them, Anko. Enjoying your time as sensei? Sarutobi asked cheerfully. He knew he had kind of forced the position of sensei onto the woman, so he was pleased to see that she was actually enjoying it. Well, I don't mind it. They aren't bad kids or anything. The snake summoner shrugged. No, they aren't. The Sandaime nodded in agreement. Anyway, on to business. Let's go introduce you to your client. The Hokage made the hand sign for the shadow clone jutsu and created one clone. The clone Hokage led Anko out of the room and directed her to where her client was staying. The real Sarutobi remained behind, dealing with the number one nemesis of his entire life, paperwork. 9 silhouettes stood atop large rocks situated in front of a large statue. 7 of the silhouettes seemed blurry and almost see-through, as if they were not truly present. Zetsu, the Jinchuriki is leaving his village soon, correct? One of the figures asked in an authoritative voice. Yes. Another figure, Zetsu, responded. Unlike the other 8, this figure took the shape of a Venus flytrap. It then changed its voice before speaking again. Their mission begins tomorrow. He and his team will be heading to Kusa no Kuni towards the Tenchi Bridge, where they are meeting the other village's shinobi. Good. The first figure spoke. He then turned his attention towards 2 more figures, standing next to each other. Kakuzu, Nasumareta, I have a mission for you both. As you 2 are the closest to the bridge, you will engage the Jinchuriki after they leave the other ninja. Fight him to test his abilities and see where the Jinchuriki stands. If possible now, try and capture him alive for the extraction. If you can, then try and pin his disappearance on the other shinobi. The Konoha-Iwa feud is infamous, so it won't seem off that something like this happened. Understood. One of the figures replied in a bored, uncaring tone of voice. Anyway, if that's all the orders you have for me, then I'll be on my way. Later. With those words, the figure disappeared from view on his rock. Didn't even wait for any more orders, that impatient, obnoxious little brat. The figure that was standing next to him hissed under his breath before he turned to face the leader. My partner is getting me on my nerves. He has been for the past few days. Expect me to need a new partner, as I will probably kill him very soon and turn him in for the bounty Kumo has on his head if he keeps pissing me off with his impatience. That'll be the third one, Kakuzu. Zetsu replied nonchalantly. We can look into that for you, Kakuzu, but for now, just work with him and complete your mission. There are no further orders for you. The leader stated. He then turned his attention to Zetsu. Zetsu, keep track on the other Jinchuriki. Find out everything you can about them and their current positions. Got it. The plant figure replied, his voice back to the way it originally was. Conan and I will work on recruiting a new member into the organization, a man who claims to be immortal. Perhaps this would be the best suited partner for you, Kakuzu. The leader asked. If he pisses me off, I'll find a way to kill him too. Kakuzu responded simply. The leader seemed to ignore the man's response and turned to the entire group. As for the rest of you, you have your individual assignments. The meeting is dismissed until Kakuzu and Nasumureta complete their mission. With those words, all silhouettes disappeared without a trace. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru stood in front of the gates of Konoha. The three members of Team 3 were sporting backpacks and extra weaponry for their first C-rank mission, and first time out of the village. They were all anxiously awaiting for their first, true, mission to begin, with Naruto being the most excitement. My first time out of the village, my first real mission, this is going to be an awesome few days Dadbayo. The boy cheered inwardly, almost jumping up and down in place due to excitement. This excitement soon changed to irritation after a few minutes passed. Their sensei and client were nowhere to be found. Anko sensei should be here by now, right? Naruto asked his friends. I mean, she came to my house and told me, be here at 8 o'clock in the morning, or suffer the consequences. So where is she? I have no clue. Hinata admitted with a sigh. Troublesome. I actually woke up early today for this and she doesn't even show up on time. Shikamaru complained. Minutes soon turn into an hour. It was at this point of irritation that Anko finally showed her face. She was accompanied by a short, rather large man who looked to be in his late 30s. He was wearing black pants and a large, expensive-looking blue shirt that had the kanji for respect on the back. The man was also wearing a blue hat that covered most of his short blonde hair. He also was carrying 2 packs on his back that seemed full. Anko didn't get the chance to speak before Naruto started to shout. Where the crap have you been, sensei? He asked. Anko was about to respond but was cut off by the man that was walking with her. I am terribly sorry, Konoha Shinobi. I am sad to say that it was my fault that we were late. The man bowed his head in apology. He had a very eloquent way of speaking. When Anko-sama came to pick me up for the meeting, I was still fast asleep. I had forgotten the time from our conversation yesterday, so she in fact woke me up. I had to prepare for the day right then and there, which I failed to do quickly. I am terribly sorry. Naruto blinked in response. It's fine, sir. No need to apologize for a simple mistake. Hinata informed him. Yeah, no problem at all. I understand. Naruto informed the man with a smile. Truth be told, that sounded like something he would do. Granted, he wouldn't say it so wordy, but the point still remains. I'm jealous, Shikamaru noted, upset he didn't have the luck of oversleeping. Mitarashi Anko cleared her voice, getting everyone's attention. Well, brats, you just heard the man. That's why we are late leaving. She stated rather bluntly, irritation evident, before pointing towards the man next to her. Anyway, this is our client, Yen. In case you all forgot, he is a merchant from Tsuchi no Kuni and it is our job to escort him to the Tenchi Bridge and deliver him to Iwa Shinobi, who will escort him home. It is a pleasure to meet you all. Yen spoke up, interrupting the purple-haired woman again. This is your genin team, correct? Yes. Yes it is. She responded, her face starting to get red from annoyance. Anyway, we've wasted some daylight, so let's hurry up and get out of here. Hell yeah, finally. Naruto cheered loudly in excitement. Oh, this'll be exciting. I always love traveling, especially with company. Yen stated, nearly as excited as the boy next to him. The two blondes hurried off outside the gates of Konoha, heading towards their mission. Hinata, Shikamaru, and Anko watched the two speed off in silence. Anko was the one to break the silence with a sigh. I forgot what it's like to deal with clients like this. Kill me now, she grumbled to herself as she started to walk off. Her two genin started to follow her. He seems nice though. Hinata noted, quietly. Oh, he is. He's very polite. But he doesn't shut up. I've only known him since yesterday afternoon and I've already heard his voice too much. Anko complained. Just what we need. Another loudmouth blonde. Shikamaru noted with a sigh, slightly joking and slightly serious. When the three Konoha shinobi made their way out of the gates, they noticed that Naruto and Yen were standing off to the side of the road. Naruto was rubbing the back of his head sheepishly while Yen was looking down in embarrassment. Forgive me, Konoha shinobi. In my haste to leave, I had forgotten to check a map on which way Kusa no Kuni is. The merchant informed them sadly. Yeah, what way we are going? Naruto asked, voicing his and the merchant's concerns. Hinata's sweat dropped, Shikamaru gave off a sigh, and Anko face-palmed. That's another thing wrong with the client. He's impulsive and scatterbrained. Just like another blonde I'm in charge of. Anko moaned inwardly. Just follow me. The purple-haired woman informed everyone present as she started off on the path towards Kusa no Kuni. The three genin and the merchant nodded in response and followed behind. Team 3's first C-rank mission had now officially begun. An hour had passed since Team 3 had left the gates of Konoha. They were currently on the road to reach Kusa no Kuni. According to Anko's map and memory, they should reach Kusa no Kuni on their third or fourth day, depending on their speed, and reach the Tenchi Bridge one day later. The Tokubetsu Jonin was currently conversing with Yen. The woman did not seem too happy to be talking to him and answering all of his questions, but she was making an effort to be polite and respond to them. The two adults reached a conclusion to their conversation. Hinata decided to take this time to get to know her client. So Yen-san, did you enjoy Hai no Kuni while you were here? She asked the merchant. I did indeed, Hinata-sama. Your country is very beautiful. Yen complimented with a smile. Hinata was about to respond, further questioning about his time here, but was cut off by the loud voice of her crush. Hey, Yen-san, why do you add Sama to our names? I mean, you're our client. You shouldn't really be calling us that, not that I mind or anything. Naruto asked, rushing his last statement in hopes of not offending. He was just simply confused. On the contrary, you all deserve the title, Naruto-sama. After all, you are shinobi. The merchant informed him as if it was a simple concept. Sure, I'm paying you all and you're working for me, but you are protecting me. You all have the power to do that, something I don't have. That's what makes you worthy of that title. You are all stronger than me and are protecting me. Hinata couldn't help but blush at the merchant's praise. Surprisingly, neither could Naruto. The boy had never been praised as much from someone he had just met. He had a large grin on his face. From what I've heard, most clients don't think as highly of us as you do, Yen-san. Your belief says a lot about your character. Shikamaru noted with a smile of his own. From the stories he has heard from his parents and his dad's teammates, he had heard a lot about the awful, horrible, and condescending clients who call for escort missions. Thankfully he's not a pain in the SS. Shikamaru inwardly sighed in relief. As you can tell from my outfit, respect is very important to me. Yen declared, pointing to the kanji on the back of his shirt. My parents taught me to give the proper respect to everyone that they deserve, and that's what I do. Comfortable silence filled the air after his words. The Konoha shinobi, even Anko, seemed very pleased with the man's ideology and statements. The silence was soon broken, though, as Yen started to speak. If you don't mind, may I ask you three a few questions about being shinobi? He asked them. I've discussed most of these questions with Anko-sama, but I'm interested in hearing from the perspective of a genin squad. Sure, Hinata stated politely for her and her friends. Oh, you fools. You know not what you are doing. Anko sang in her head. She remembered all the questions Yen had for her the day before and just before he started to talk to her genin. She had an idea on exactly what was going to happen. The Tokubetsu Jonin's speculation was proven correct. Yen immediately bombarded the young genin with multiple questions. The questions ranged from simple topics, such as information on chakra, the shinobi lifestyle, and the way Konoha is run, to personal questions, such as their reasons for becoming genin, any famous shinobi they look up to, their favorite jutsu they know, etc. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru attempted to answer everything the merchant asked. They found themselves overwhelmed by the man's multiple questions. He talks way too much. Naruto noted, unaware of the irony that he was complaining about someone else talking too much. No, I change my mind. This guy is a pain, just not in the way I expected. Shikamaru mentally grumbled. Despite the internal complaining, the questions continued throughout the rest of the day. They only stopped when the group stopped traveling for the day and could sleep for the night. The Genin members were all grateful that Anko was taking first watch, as they wanted to sleep and get some time to relax and sleep after the long question session they went through. Day 2 of traveling began shortly after everyone got up. After a small breakfast that Anko prepared from the supplies she brought, Team 3 and their client were off again towards the Tenchi Bridge. Time passed by. Yen continued to chatter with the 4 shinobi in his presence, asking them even more questions about Konoha and being shinobi. After a few hours of walking, the group noticed that a young man was walking down the path going the opposite direction. He gave a wave to the group walking, but seemed to pay special attention to Yen. His eyes were focused on the merchant. Anko noticed this and immediately readied a kunai. When the group finally passed the man, he made a signal with his hands. At that moment, 10 more men jumped out of the forest, each holding axes. All men charged at the traveling group. Ah! Yen gasped in surprise, almost falling to the ground in shock. As if on cue, the man was surrounded on all sides by the members of Team 3. Stay calm. We'll handle this. They're just common bandits, Anko informed him as she tossed one of her kunai knives. It landed directly in the temple of one of the bandits, killing him instantly. Naruto, Hinata, Shikamaru, defend your client by any means necessary. The 3 genin nodded and immediately went to work. Naruto used the Fuden, great breakthrough, to blow away 2 of the incoming bandits. They flew backwards into the forest again, hitting their heads against trees and knocking themselves out. Hinata activated her Byakugan and attacked the chakra network of 2 incoming bandits. Considering the little amount of chakra they possessed, the 2 men passed out from chakra exhaustion immediately. Shikamaru activated his shadow possession jutsu, freezing 2 incoming bandits. He dropped the hold just before Anko tossed 2 kunai at them, killing them. The remaining bandits were handled by Anko, who hit them directly into their heads and killed them all instantly. The young man who signaled for the attack was the only one not unconscious or dead. I always find it funny when bandits like you think you can take on shinobi just because you outnumber them. Face it. You made a serious mistake in judgment when you attacked us. Anko told him with a grin as she walked towards him, a kunai raised. Why you shinobi are so cozy? The man blurted out in a mix of anger and fear. Just you wait. Our remaining men will find you. They're waiting out in the forest later on and they'll kill you all. Oh really? Doubt they'll be much of a threat. But thanks for warning us about your friends and their sneak attack. You're a smart one. The purple-haired Tokubetsu Jonin laughed. As a reward, you'll get a painless death. The sensei of Team 3 immediately tossed her kunai at the man's head. It connected and death came instantly. Is it safe? Yen mumbled nervously, still in shock from the attack. For now, yeah. Unfortunately, the guy said there were more weakling bandits. They won't be much of a challenge, but they'll be annoying. Anko noted with a sigh. She then turned to Hinata. Do you think you can spot them from here? Hinata focused her vision further along the path they were heading. As she looked further, she saw 3 bandits hiding in trees a little less than a kilometer away. If you can see them, mind taking them out for me? The woman asked. The Hyuga heiress nodded as she took out her bow and arrow set from her backpack. She readied an arrow, aimed, and fired. The arrow hit one of the bandits straight in the neck. The man, who was sitting in a tree, gasped in pain and fell off of it in shock. His head hit the ground hard, killing him. The other 2 bandits looked at the sight in shock and immediately fled, in fear of dying as well. There were 3 bandits. IF fired an arrow and killed one. The other two F fled immediately after. Hinata reported to her sensei. Oh, thank you. Thank you all so much. I knew there was a reason I needed to request Shinobi Company. You all saved my life. Yen informed them gratefully. Hinata was about to smile back when the reality of what just happened occurred to her. The girl had just fired an arrow and killed a man. She had just killed someone. She had just made her first kill. Anko, Shikamaru, and Naruto accepted the praise and smiled in response. Hinata, however, started to shake in response. She remained quiet as she started to stare at the ground. Hinata. Hinata-chan, are you okay? Naruto asked. Hinata didn't say anything. She just continued to stare downward. Hinata. The blonde asked, his concern growing even more. Okay, team, let's make a move on. Time's wasting. Anko informed everyone, interrupting the boys' questioning. Hinata was the first to start walking forward, with Yen and Shikamaru following closely behind. Naruto and Anko carried up the rear, as Anko decided she needed to talk to the boy. Naruto, I know you care for her, but let her be for a little bit. She told him. Huh, why? She's not feeling good at all. She needs some help. Naruto informed her, irritated that his sensei didn't want him to help his friend. Naruto, I know what's wrong with her. I've seen that face before. Hell, I remember when I had it. She just made her first kill. Anko explained with sad, understanding look on her face. Taking a life for the first time is never easy. She's probably beginning to have a lot of mental and emotional pain. Well, what can we do to help? Naruto asks, feeling even more concern for Hinata. Nothing for now, the Tokubetsu Jonin stated sharply. Don't force the issue on her and make her talk when she's not ready for it. It'll just hurt her more. Let her try and come to grips on her own. The most effective thing you can do is give her the space she needs for now and, when she decides she wants to talk, to be her friend and talk to her. Naruto stood in silence for a while, thinking about the situation. He had yet to make his own first kill, so he didn't fully understand what exactly Hinata was feeling. He could only imagine the feeling. He wanted to help his friend out badly, but he couldn't think of an exact way to do that. Fine. I'll wait for her to talk about it. The boy sighed. In the meantime, I'll try and think of a way to help, or something to say. And I'll just be her friend. Whatever I can do to help her feel better. The purple-haired woman gave a sincere smile at her student's words. She'll probably talk to you soon. You mean a lot to her. Just be her friend. With those words, the conversation was dropped. Naruto and Anko hurried up to the group traveling with them. Silence filled the group. Even Yen wasn't talking. Everyone remained in their own thoughts. Naruto, especially, spent his time thinking. I'll figure out what to say. Hinata, I'll help you. He mentally promised to his distraught friend. After a few more hours, the group set up camp again. Anko had the first watch as her students slept until their turn. Or tried to sleep. Hinata stayed up all night until her turn, just staring blankly into space. Naruto-kun. Naruto woke up from his sleep with a loud yawn. He brushed off his tiredness as quickly as he could and turned to look at the source of his wake-up call, Hinata. It's your turn to do watch. The girl informed him quietly. Naruto noticed Hinata revert back to her excessive stuttering and frowned. He wanted to do something to help her, but he remembered his sensei's words from earlier. Okay. Thanks Hinata-chan, he told her politely as he got up from his sleeping bag and started to look around for any possible threats. The Uzumaki genin continued his watch for a few minutes until he noticed that Hinata had never laid back down asleep. She remained standing, just staring at him, as if she was debating something within her head. Naruto realized something then and there. Does she want to talk? The boy made the hand signs for his shadow clones, who started to perform his duties of keeping watch. He then walked over to his friend. Hinata-chan, he asked quietly. Naruto-kun. She responded back, hesitantly. You okay, Hinata-chan? What you still doing up? He asked. Naruto felt he needed to make sure she really did want to talk. He really didn't want to hurt her or make her feel worse than she already did. Ah, I'm having tea trouble sleeping. She mumbled. And, well, I. Hinata couldn't continue with whatever she wanted to say. Her tears were starting to come back. She immediately grabbed onto the nearby Naruto and pulled him closer to her as if he was her life support. She then started to cry hard into his jumpsuit. As if by instinct, Naruto hugged the girl tight against him. He started to rub his hand on Hinata's back in an attempt to calm her down. He didn't say anything. She just has to get it all out. She has to let go of all her tears. The two stayed in that position, with no sounds made except for Hinata's crying. After about 20 to 30 minutes, Hinata started to calm down and stopped crying. Sorry, for that. Hinata apologized. Don't apologize for anything, Hinata. You can talk to me. You shouldn't be afraid to show your emotions to me. Naruto informed her, still rubbing her back. If anyone should be sorry, then it's me. I'm sorry about what happened. Don't be. The girl sniffed. Is shouldn't be either. We're ninja. This is what we do. It's just. Hinata, although we are ninja, we are also human. It's only natural to feel this way about, yeah. Naruto replied. He didn't want to outright mention the word, killing. It's just. That man had a family. He had a life. And I ended it. Hinata continued to sniffle, tears starting to form again. Hinata, that man would have tried to kill Yen. He has a family too and a life. You helped keep our client alive. The blonde stated. He moved his hand away from her back and wiped away some of the tears away. You helped save a life. Hinata's sniffling died down. The girl still looked troubled though. Naruto gave it a little more thought before he spoke again. We are ninja. We may have to kill people in our line of duty, but we do so to protect others. It could be clients, civilians, our teammates, even each other. We fight to protect everyone around us. He stated sincerely, giving off a smile. Hinata, you were strong. You stepped up and helped protect our client. You are a true ninja and someone I'm glad to call my teammate and friend. The Hyuga heiress's troubled look seemed to completely vanish. She looked over at her crush in complete awe at everything he had just told her. Naruto-kun, you never cease to amaze me, you really are a one of a kind. She thought to herself, a blush starting to form on her face again. A smile soon joined that blush as she brushed any remaining tears. Naruto-kun, thank you. Thank you for everything. I don't know what I would do without you. The girl told him. Her tone of voice was much more relaxed, and much more happy. It's no problem at all, Hinata. I know you'd do the same for me. And I have no idea what I would do without you. Naruto replied back with a grin. He gave her one last squeeze before he let go from the hug. Hinata significantly reddened, finally noticing that she had been hugging Naruto for quite some time now. She was about to say something but her words died when she found herself yawning. Hey, looks like you're tired. Naruto pointed out with a more playful smile. Yeah, I am. Sleep would be nice. Hinata thought tiredly. Get some sleep, Hinata-chan. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? The blonde told her. Oh, okay. Hinata replied. She then, pushed to action by instinct, walked over to her crush and gave him a hug. Good night, Naruto-kun. Thank you so much for everything. You really helped me feel better. The girl then went back to her sleeping bag, leaving a slightly blushing blonde behind. Naruto eventually shook off the blush, gained a large smile on his face, and went back to his watch duties with his clones. He was relieved that his friend was feeling better and back to normal again. Hinata, herself, laid down within her sleeping bag. For the first time in the past few hours, she was smiling. She found it rather easy to sleep. 3 more days passed by. They had finally reached Kusa no Kuni, but were no done with their mission. The group continued to travel on the road. Their journey didn't end until they reached a medium-sized arch bridge that crossed a giant ravine. There's the Tenchi Bridge, Anko told the group, excitedly. You ninja are truly extraordinary. Thank you so much for your assistance. Yen praised the Konoha shinobi happily. It's no problem at all. Hinata bowed in acceptance. She then took a close look at the bridge herself and saw figures standing in front of the bridge. We aren't alone. There are a few other people there at the bridge. Most likely the Aiwa team. Shikamaru noted. Naruto groaned at this realization. The moment was finally here. They were about to meet the team from Aiwa. They were about to meet the group of ninja that were enemies to Konoha, shinobi from the village that fought and killed many Konoha ninja in the Third Great Shinobi World War. Naruto remembered all the stories he had heard about Aiwa ninjas from the academy teachers and the older orphans who lost their parents in the war. The boy remembered every horrific crime that he heard they performed. He was not excited at all for this encounter. The group continued their approach closer to the bridge. As they arrived, the figures were easier to identify. There were 3 of them standing in front of the bridge, and they were indeed Aiwa ninja, as identified by their forehead protectors tied on their heads. The first one was a short, brown-haired boy with sunglasses on. He had on a camouflage-colored jacket and was wearing brown cargo shorts. The boy seemed to come off rather plain and seemed to almost blend in the area around him. The second figure was a tall boy with green eyes and black hair that went down to his back. The boy was wearing black pants and a tight-fit red-black shirt that showed off his muscular build. He also had a scabbard attached to his pants, a sword sticking out of it. The final figure was a girl with short black hair and pink eyes. She was wearing a red shirt that lacked her right sleeve underneath a brown jacket. She also had on fishnet tights underneath a red skirt. The girl was the first of the 3 Aiwa genin to see the approaching Konoha shinobi. She immediately put on a slight scowl as she rushed over to them. Her teammates followed right behind to meet the Konoha shinobi. About time you guys got here. We've been waiting for a while. She informed them, her scowl turning more into a frown as she thought about how long she was there. Well, sorry, we had to make sure we got our client here safe. You know, since that's the point of the mission. Naruto pointed out to her, giving her a scowl of her own. Of course it is. We know that, you idiot. She replied. However, you obviously didn't do that good of a job if you ended up taking this long to get here. Kuretsuchi, save your breath. The Konoha Baka probably thought they were making good time. The sunglasses wearing Aiwa ninja informed her with a laugh. What did you say, punk? Naruto shouted, turning his attention to the boy who just spoke. Roto was just saying the truth, Konoha shinobi. The sword-carrying ninja informed him, emphasizing the words, Konoha shinobi, as if it was venom. Naruto, calm down. Don't start anything. Shikamaru informed his friend sharply before he snapped at the Aiwa ninjas anymore. Naruto fumed inwardly, glaring at the Aiwa genin. He had many things he wanted to say to these 3, but he knew that saying any more could maybe ruin the mission. This would ruin any chances of this mission creating peace between Konoha and Aiwa. Listen to him. He seems like the smart one in the bunch. Not that it means anything truly special to be smart in Konoha. The sword-carrying Aiwa ninja told Naruto. While I don't mind a little joking, the Konoha ninja is right. That means you shouldn't antagonize them either, Risho. Kuretsuchi informed him sharply. Silence seemed to fill the area. The 2 Aiwa male genin, Roto and Risho, were glaring at the Konoha genin. Naruto was glaring back. Kuretsuchi and Shikamaru were looking annoyed by the situation. Hinata and Yen were standing off to the side awkwardly. The Hyuga heiress and the Tsuchi no Kuni merchant were trying to think of something they could do to diffuse the tension. The ice was broken by Anko, who decided she didn't like the awkward silence. Name's Mitarashi Anko, and this is my genin squad. We were assigned the mission of delivering the merchant, Yen, to an Aiwa team. I need to clarify that you guys are the team we are handing Yen off to. Do you guys have this scroll? She asked as she pulled out the mission scroll, containing Yen's request of escort. The name's Kuretsuchi. I'm a genin of Iowa. These are my teammates, Kurigane Risho and Yowamushi Roto. We are the genin team assigned to pick up Yen. Kuretsuchi greeted the Tokubetsu Jonin. As for the scroll, our sensei has it. Roto informed her, slightly nervous. He seemed to be trying to show more respect to a Konoha sensei, considering she was probably tougher than him. Well, where is your sensei? Naruto asked, slightly out of curiosity. He has more important duties than dealing with you worthless Konoha shinobi. Risho answered sharply. Risho, what did I just say? Kuretsuchi informed him sharply. Worthless. Who are you calling worthless, Iowa scum? Naruto fired back. He was starting to get fed up with the remarks and was very close to reacting against his better judgment if they continued. Naruto soon found himself face to face with the sharp glare of the Iowa female. Kuretsuchi was now in front of him with cold eyes focused on him. Iowa scum, she hissed. I'll keep my fellow teammates in line, but you should keep yourself quiet as well. Don't ever speak that way about my village. Wait. Kuretsuchi started to study the blonde more closely as she was now in his face. He looks just like the Yondaime Hokage. Is he? No. Why is she staring at me like that? Am I some meat to her or something? Naruto wondered, his scowl getting even larger. Damn it. Things aren't going good. Anko cursed, looking at the situation. I can feel the tension between them. We can't have any conflict happen. I have to do something. The snake summoner was about to intervene and try and quell the tension when she was stopped. A new figure jumped in between Naruto and Kuretsuchi, pushing them both back away from each. The new figure was a man wearing red-plated armor that covered nearly his entire body. A furnace was attached to the back of his armor and appeared to be letting out steam each second. Over his armor, he was wearing a black gi and had on black gloves over his hands. There was cloth that covered his mouth and the side of his head, and he was also wearing a red straw hat. Anko gasped at the sight of the man. Wait. He's the Jonin sensei. Well, fuck. I didn't even know he was still an Iowa ninja. Kuretsuchi, Risho, Roto, I thought you would not antagonize the Konoha shinobi. We wouldn't want to do anything to displease Tsuchikage-sama, would we? The man asked his students. His voice was notably cold and distant. No. Not at all, sensei. Roto stammered nervously, bowing his head in shame. He was actually starting to shake under his sensei's hard stare. No. Kuretsuchi simply replied. She looked saddened as she stared into her sensei's eyes. Eventually, she turned over to the Konoha shinobi and bowed. I shouldn't have let my temper got the best of me. Forgive me. Naruto was taken aback by this. He found himself unconsciously doing the same thing. It's fine. I was out of line myself. Sorry. The blonde then turned his attention over to the armor-wearing Iowa ninja. Naruto was staring at him in complete surprise. The man managed to push him and Kuretsuchi away from each other without them even realizing he was approaching. His very presence also seemed to create fear in his students. Just how strong can this guy be? But that wasn't all the Konoha Jinchuriki noticed. He also noticed the man's light brown eyes. In a way, they reminded him a little of his own, only his were more hardened, cold, and distant. Still, he saw the same pain and loneliness in them. The man noticed Naruto's gaze and stared back. He broke the silence after a few more seconds of staring. Anyway, allow me to introduce myself. I am the Iowa Jonin in charge of these genin. My name is Han. The man informed everyone. Omake. Teach me that jutsu. Day 3 of traveling was unusually quiet for the group. Unlike the previous 2 days, Yen was not chatting with the Konoha shinobi. He seemed deep in thought while on the road. After an hour of silence from the client, the members of Team 3 started to feel uncomfortable. They were starting to wonder if there was something upsetting the man. Anko, surprisingly, was the one to finally address the issue. Hey, Yen-san. Are you okay? She asked her client with concern in her voice. Oh, I'm fine. No need to worry. Just thinking about something. Yen dismissed her worries with a smile. Actually, may I ask a question? All of Anko's concern went away and was replaced with a feeling of dread. The sensei nodded hesitantly in response. Is it possible that you could teach me how to do some ninjutsu? The merchant asked. Anko's eyes widened in response. Her genin, who were listening, were equally surprised. Nobody had expected this request from their client. They started at their client, waiting for him to elaborate. I was thinking about it since the attack yesterday. If it weren't for you all, I would be dead. So, I was thinking, I should learn how to perform ninjutsu so that way I can defend myself if I need to. Yen explained. A mental image appeared inside the merchant's head. He saw himself as a skinner, more muscular man with a forehead protector on that had the symbol for Ryo on it. He pictured himself surrounded by bandits, who were about to strike at him with knives. The yen he pictured jumped up before they could attack and made necessary hand signs. He then unleashed a massive blast of wind that blew all the bandits away to unknown territory far away. Yen laughed excitedly at the mental image. I guess it's possible. I mean, anyone can become a ninja with training after all. Anko shrugged. But, well, Hinata, how much chakra does he have? Hinata activated her Byakugan and stared at Yen for a while. She then frowned, not looking forward to explaining her discovery. Well, he does have some chakra. But he has a really small amount. Not enough to do most ninjutsu. Hinata said quietly. Her stutter worsened, knowing that Yen was not going to like her answer. The merchant frowned in response. But aren't there ways to improve one's chakra capacity? That's what I understood from our previous conversations. Maybe you all could help me work on chakra exercises. I could then teach myself various jutsu. Well, I guess. Why not? Anko mumbled, not really looking forward to the idea. Ooh, I know a jutsu he can learn. Naruto stated excitedly. I have a jutsu doesn't take any chakra at all really. And it would take down anybody that tried to attack Dadbao. Really? You know a low chakra style jutsu? Anko asked, incredulously. What one? Why haven't you used it before or said anything about it? Well, Whiskers, show it to us. Oh God, I think I know what it is. Shikamaru groaned inwardly. He had a feeling he knew exactly what jutsu his friend was going to show. Naruto smirked at his sensei's request and made a hand sign. Transform. Smoke then appeared, covering his body. Transformation. Really? I know it doesn't take much chakra, but that's lame. Anko complained mentally. The smoke dispersed itself. Naruto was no longer in sight. In his place, a fully new woman stood there, posing in a provocative manner. A few smoke clouds remained, covering her assets, but that didn't change the fact that they could see everything else. I knew it, Shikamaru grumbled as he tried to fight his nosebleed. Naruto-kun. Hinata frowned and blushed in embarrassment at her crush's antics. He may have been her hero, inspiration, and crush, but that did not mean she had to like this jutsu of his. Why do you know this? Anko and Yen made no comments. They merely stared in surprise. Anko broke from her stupor first and immediately smacked Naruto across the head. The impact Naruto's transformation away. He groaned in pain, which only got louder when Anko smacked him again. First time was for using such a stupid jutsu. Why the hell do you know that shit? The second time was for using such a jutsu in front of our client. Anko shouted. Ah. Naruto grumbled in pain. Anko then turned her attention to Shikamaru, who she smacked across the head as well. Ah. He hissed, grabbing his head. What the hell did I do? Nosebleed. You stared for too long and enjoyed what you saw. The Tokubetsu Jonin deadpanned. She then smacked him a second time. Second time for talking back to me. Shikamaru grumbled about, troublesome woman, while rubbing his head in pain. Anko didn't really pay attention, as she turned back to face Yen. I'm terribly sorry for my student's jutsu. It was completely inappropriate and I hope that it doesn't change your view on us in Konoha. Yen still had a surprised face on. A minute after Anko's apology, his face shifted to a more neutral face. Naruto-sama, he began. His face then shifted into a perverted grin. You've given me more reason to want to learn ninjutsu. Anko blinked in surprise. Part of the reason she was upset with Naruto was because she was afraid his jutsu would make Konoha look inappropriate to their client. To see such a reaction surprised her, but not in a good way. The woman started to scowl and smack the client across the head as well. He grabbed his head in pain as well, joining the other two males. Perverts. All of you, she snapped. You know, we are taking a small 5-minute break. Heal your pain, or whatever. I don't care. Just you guys don't bother me right now. Hinata, you come with me though. Why? The Hyuga questioned. Because I can at least tolerate your presence right now. Now hurry up and follow me. Her sensei responded. Hinata nodded hesitantly before following her sensei into the woods. Anko continued to storm off for a second, still very irritated at the jutsu and the other guy's reaction. However, there was a small thought running through her mind. She would never in a million years admit to it, but she couldn't help but think it. You know, I have to admit it, Whiskers did make a pretty XY chick. Single quote. I wonder what the guy version of that would like. Anyway, allow me to introduce myself. I am the Iwa Jonin in charge of these genin. My name is Han. Introductions were made quickly for the new figure, Han. The Konoha shinobi noticed that the man didn't seem to really care about their names, but they continued to introduce themselves. He waited patiently for them to finish before he started to speak. Well, with that taken care of, let's get down to business. Han declared as he pulled out a scroll and showed it to the group. As you can see, we are the team assigned to escort the merchant, Yen, back to his home. Yes, I can see. Anko nodded. The woman, usually joking around and relaxed, was uncharacteristically serious and uneasy when speaking to the Iwa Jonin. Our mission was to ensure our client's safety while we deliver him to you and your team. We can hand him over to your care, now, and complete the mission. Naruto liked the sound of that. First C rank done Datbeo. That's one step closer to Hokage. Other than his general excitement, he was also excited to leave the presence of the Iwa shinobi. He would miss Yen, but he'd be glad to get away from Iwa. Before you leave, though, I would like to make a request to you and your team. Han spoke up again. Naruto's happiness faded away, replaced with confusion. His teammates looked at the man with similar confusion, wondering what the armor-clad shinobi could be wanting to request. Noticing their stares, he pointed to the sky. The sun was starting to set and it was starting to get darker. It's going to be night soon, and it would be unwise to travel late at night in the dark. Dangers lurk around, and when you are escorting someone, you want to make sure the client is always protected. We are going to camp here and I would like to request you all help in looking after Yen-san for this one night. After all, he is your client as well. Han informed the group. His words caused an immediate negative reaction. No way, Roto exclaimed angrily. Surely you are joking, Han-sensei. We can't stay with Konoha shinobi. Risho shouted, just as angry as his teammate. Naruto was about to shout back and defend his village, but his words died on his tongue as Han started to speak again. I don't joke around. Are you two questioning my authority? He asked the two male genin, turning his eyes towards them. His normal bitter, bored tone of voice picked up a hint of annoyance. Roto flinched under his sensei's gaze and shook his head nervously. Risho, however, didn't appear to be affected by his sensei's questioning. No, I feel you are being rational as always, sensei. However, they are Konoha. We can't trust them to watch over the merchant for longer than they have to. I also wouldn't put it past them to kill him now and then pin the blame on us. He explained loudly. Between the 4 Iwa ninja, I wonder which one hates Konoha most. Shikamaru thought sarcastically as he rolled his eyes. Risho, be quiet, Han ordered. The sword-wielding boy seemed to finally accept his sensei's words. He remained quiet, only silently glaring at the Konoha ninja. Han turned his head and faced Kuretsuchi, giving her a look that asked her if she had any complaints. The kunoichi shook her head. Well, my team has no complaints with this arrangement. Is this fine with you? He asked Anko. Yes, it is. It makes sense after all, and we would like to make sure Yen is okay. Anko stated. She then turned her attention to her students. This is okay with you guys, right? Hinata nodded in affirmation. Shikamaru sighed before doing the same. It does, sensei. Naruto answered begrudgingly for himself. Then it's decided. Good. Han noted in an uncaring tone, as if he truly didn't care that his proposal was just accepted. We've already set up camp, so you can all stay with us. We will lead you there. Let's go. With those words, the Jonin started to walk into the nearby forest, not even waiting for the group to follow him. Silence filled the air as the ninja watched him leave until Kuretsuchi cleared her throat to grab everyone's attention. Well, we all heard what Han-sensei said. Let's head on over to the camp. She spoke up. The remaining members of the group nodded at the kunoichi's words and proceeded to follow the armor-wearing Jonin to the camp. During the walk, Risho and Roto would glare at the Konoha ninja. Naruto noticed this and returned their glares with his own. Kuretsuchi seemed to be focused on getting to camp, but would occasionally turn her head to glance at Naruto every few seconds. Hinata looked back and forth between everyone present, visibly bothered by the hostility and trying to think of a way to help quell it. Shikamaru noticed all the eyes and couldn't help but inwardly groan in frustration at all the tension around him. I'm starting to think I may have made a mistake with requesting this mission. Yen thought to himself. The merchant was terrified as he walked quietly. He was unused to the intense tension and hostility in the air. I knew Konoha and Iwa weren't on the best of terms, but I thought things were getting better. I guess not. Holy shit. There's got to be some way to relieve some of this tension. Anko thought, disturbed as well by the uncomfortable silence. Then again, I really shouldn't care about that. That's expected whenever Konoha and Iwa interact nowadays. What I should think about is what I didn't expect, like why Yuji no Han is here. Anko's thoughts turned back to the Iwa Jonin present. The Tokubetsu Jonin continued to ponder why the man was here and what actions she would have to take due to his presence. Silence reigned over the walk. The walk, while short in length, was long and uncomfortable for everyone. The tension seemed to intensify with each step. Eventually, though, the shinobi and Yen reached a simple campsite. A tent was set up and a fire was already lit. They had arrived at the Iwa camp, but only one thing was missing. Hey, if this is your camp, then where is your sensei? Shikamaru questioned the Iwa shinobi. Oh yeah, sensei does that. He doesn't spend much time at camp whenever we set it up. He prefers to spend most of his time alone. Kuretsuchi explained. She had a frown on her face, seemingly bothered by her sensei's aloof attitude. Han sensei isn't much of a people person. Roto added with a shiver. Why is that? Yen asked curiously, trying to learn a few things about this new group he would be traveling with. He has his reasons for his behavior. Risho replied. It was the first time his voice wasn't filled with hate and disgust. It was rather deep and seemed to have a sad undertone to it. Silence filled the group once again. Luckily for everyone, though, that Kuretsuchi decided to try and relieve the tension. So, everyone make themselves at home here. We can talk about some chores for all of us to do and then get started on cooking up something for all of us to eat. That sound good to everybody? She asked. Everyone nodded and walked over to the fire to sit down and discuss the plan for their night. As they walked over, Risho noticed something about the Konoha shinobi. Not that I overly care, but where's your sensei? He asked them. Naruto mumbled in confusion as he and his teammates turned around. Like Risho stated, Anko was not in sight. She had disappeared from the campsite. Strange. She walked with us to camp. Shikamaru noted. Guess she just vanished. HMPH. Lazy senseis wanting the genin to do work. Naruto mumbled in frustration. Roto couldn't hold back a laugh at the blonde's words. Yep. Leave it all to the genin. Naruto temporarily forgot about his hatred for Iwa and gave his fellow genin a thumbs up and a nod in agreement. It doesn't matter where our senseis are. All that matters is that we look after the client and get preparations for the night done. Kuretsuchi informed everyone, slightly annoyed. She was used to her sensei being aloof and not caring about camp, so she didn't really care if the Konoha sensei was the same way. Now, for the tasks. Who wants to go out looking for more firewood with me? 'Cause we are probably going to need some more. The genin proceeded to discuss about the plans for the night and for the camp. The two Jonin sensei continued to be missing in action. Finally, found him. Anko sighed in relief after finding her target. You'd think with such visible armor that he'd be easy to find. When Anko noticed that Han was not at the camp, she left to go find him on her own. The Tokubetsu Jonin was still concerned about his presence and felt that she should find him and observe him. After a good few minutes of looking, she finally found the armor-wearing shinobi. To her surprise, he was sitting down on the ground preparing himself a cup of tea in a pot. Where the hell did the pot come from? I know he didn't have that when we were talking earlier. The woman continued to watch him as he prepared his tea, looking for any signs of suspicious behavior. The man appeared to not notice her. Only when he finished his preparation of the tea did he address the woman. I know you are out there, Anko-san, so you don't have to keep hiding. Han spoke aloud. Anko cursed under her breath as she got out of her hiding spot. She walked up to the Iowa Jonin and faced him. Is there any reason you went off on your own after we set up camp? She asked him curiously. I'm not a fan of big groups. The armor-wearing shinobi replied simply as he moved the cloth covering his mouth down and took a sip of the cup of tea in his hands. Anko took the time to actually notice the tea. Her eyes widened when she saw the amount of steam pouring out of it. Just how hot is that? Is that even possible? Well, why suggest the idea of camping together then? The Tokubetsu Jonin questioned, slightly shaking her head as she turned from the blazing hot tea to the man drinking it. It was simply a practical thought. Best way to watch over the client and make sure he is protected. He replied back after taking another sip. Silence filled the air as the two senseis stared at each other. Han studied the girl with critical eyes. Anko mentally cursed under his gaze, feeling awkward by the silence. She had a lot she wanted to find out from the man and she was having a hard time talking to him for some reason. I'm usually more calm than this. What the hell is going on, Anko? She shouted inwardly. You obviously have something you want to say or ask me, so go ahead. There must be some reason you were observing me so diligently after all. Han informed her as he sat his teacup down to pay full attention to the woman. I was just curious about a things. That's all. Anko informed him, finally picking up some nerve. After all, I actually thought you weren't an Iowa shinobi anymore. So I do find it a tad suspicious that you are now a Jonin sensei in charge of a mission involving Konoha. Oh, the Iowa Jonin now seemed bored with the conversation, as he picked up his teacup and started to drink again. Well, according to Konoha and other villages' information, you vanished after the Third Shinobi World War. No one has seen or heard from you since. That should be impossible, considering the reputation you gathered. Rumors claim that you defected. The woman explained. The suspicions, I feel, are justified. Well, then, you should inform your Hokage to fire his spies in Iowa, as I am still a shinobi there. He replied in the same bored and distant tone. Not like Iowa truly wants me as one of their shinobi though. Anko looked at the man with confusion, not fully understanding. Han seemed to notice her confusion and decided to elaborate. I'm sure you know of my involvement in the Third Shinobi World War. He stated. Add that to my status as the Gobi Jinchuriki, and you have a village that wants nothing more than to see me die on a suicide mission. Anko nodded in understanding, a frown creeping on her face. Han was an infamous ninja from Iowa, and therefore, had been studied by Konoha shinobi. She knew the details of his role in the Third Shinobi World War, as well as his status as the current Gobi Jinchuriki, and felt saddened that he was still hated years after everything. The snake summoner couldn't help but relate. Han's eyes narrowed on her, as he started to understand her line of thinking. Don't pity me. I'm not someone who needs it. We are from opposing villages anyway, why not you pity your blonde student instead? The purple-haired woman's eyes narrowed in response. So, you know of his status as well. He let out a humorless laugh in response. Of course I do. I can sense the chakra of his biju even from here. Iwa also never believed the lies Konoha made up about the Kyuubi's death. This conversation just merely confirms it. He's the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Han took one more sip of his tea before he spoke again. Even if we factored all of that out, I can see the loneliness in his eyes. His eyes are filled with the same depression and mistreatment that all Jinchuriki possess. The armor-wearing shinobi's voice took a slight change. Disappointment was evident in it. From what I heard of your village, I thought Konoha would treat its Jinchuriki better. But I guess I shouldn't have expected anything different. You humans are too ignorant to see the difference from a beast in its container. You're human too. And so is he. Anko informed him, confused about the man's words. No, I am a Jinchuriki. Not an ignorant human nor a demon, like your kind calls us. He told her sharply. What of the boy? I wonder if he sees himself as a demon because of your village. While not everyone likes the kid, he's not hated by all. I trust him, as does his teammates, and he's special to us. He's no demon and he certainly doesn't see himself as one. Anko stated sharply. She didn't like the direction this conversation was going and wanted to put into it. Really? Don't worry. It'll come. He's young. He's naive. He'll learn how this world works soon enough. Han replied just as sharply. And you'll do nothing to help him. Not after future events happen that change your perception of him. After all, you are only human. Anko glared at the man in front of her. She opened her mouth to rebuff his claims, but was interrupted as Han got up from his spot, picking up the teapot and his cup. If this is all we have to talk about, then I must say we are finished. I'm bored of this, he mentions, a strong sense of finality of his voice. I'll go check up on our client. If you wish, go look for any threats to his safety. You can be on the lookout for them now. I'll take up watch at night, so you can get sleep. Farewell Anko-san. The man disappeared after speaking in a poof of smoke. Anko stared blankly at where the man was before she started to scowl. Well, that conversation could have gone better. She huffed to herself. Well, whatever. He doesn't seem like he'll be a threat to this mission. He also shouldn't be too much of an issue, since he seems to have no hatred for Konoha, just humanity in general. Although, that itself does bother me. He really hates people. Anko noted in her head. She inwardly shivered, remembering his cold, bored, distant tone of voice. And then I don't like where he was going with that Naruto part. Anko shook her head, clearing her thoughts. She decided it would be a good idea to do as Han suggested and search for any nearby enemies and maybe place some traps. The woman began her mission to ensure Yen's safety. Yet, in the back of her head, she couldn't help but still think of Han's words. Single quote. I really hope he and Naruto don't really talk much. The genin of Konoha and Iwa drafted a plan on activities for the camp. Hinata and Risho were to wait back at camp and watch over and protect Yen. Naruto and Roto were sent off into the forest to a nearby lake and see if they could catch any fish. Shikamaru and Kuretsuchi decided to go into the forest and collect more firewood for the fire. The two genin were currently scanning the forest ground, looking for good wood to burn. Sorry about my teammates, by the way. Kuretsuchi apologized while she and Shikamaru were starting their search. They are kind of unruly when Konoha is ever brought up. Shikamaru raised his eyebrows at her sudden apology. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry about my blonde friend as well. While we are talking about it, though, why do you not hate us as much? It seems the rest of your team wants nothing more than for all of us to die. Oh, trust me, I'm not overly fond of Konoha myself. I won't deny it. Having said that, I don't have anything against you guys, and I also realize that you guys are helping out with the mission. Kuretsuchi explained. Besides, my teammates are more hateful than the common Iwa ninja. Oh, the Nara questioned. This conversation was getting intriguing to him, and he felt information about the Konoha-Iwa rivalry could only prove to be useful in the future. Well, yeah, Roto comes from a civilian family and they are the most hateful towards anything Konoha of all the people in Iwa. Funny, too, considering they don't even fight or deal with you people. The Kunoichi noted with a scoff. As for Risho, he comes from a clan that has much respect in Iwa as the Hyuga have in your village, so he's very prideful. And his clan had the highest number of deaths in the Third War, so he has a very deep hatred for Konoha because of that. So he has that, and probably a gigantic stick up his SS if his clan is anything like the Hyuga. Shikamaru noted sarcastically. That too. Kuretsuchi agreed, actually laughing a little. Shikamaru couldn't help but notice the girl's laugh, but shrugged off the thoughts before they developed. Anyway, mind if I ask about the blonde? Naruto, right? He obviously dislikes Iwa more than you, your other teammate, and your sensei. Any particular reason why? Shikamaru noted she was doing the exact same thing that he did to her. Still, he didn't seem to care. Not like giving this info would actually affect us. Naruto grew up an orphan, and the orphanage doesn't promote the best image of Iwa at all. After all, a good portion of kids in Konoha were orphaned in the last war by Iwa alone. Naruto's really sensitive about family, so the fact that your village orphaned the most Konoha kids doesn't sit well with him. That and the fact that he has more pride in Konoha than most ninja. Shikamaru explained his friend's strong feelings. Kuretsuchi's eyebrows rose at this new information. I wonder, he's an orphan, huh? Well, I assume his parents didn't die in the war, since our generation had us just after the war. She noted. Probably not. Can't answer that question, though, because I don't know who his parents were. Shikamaru shrugged. Really? She asked. If he was his child, I'd assume he'd be celebrated as a son of a hero. The fact his parents are unknown probably proves that he isn't his son. Still, he looks too much like him. Kuretsuchi proceeded to stop in their search for firewood and stand still in deep thought. Shikamaru noticed this and studied the kunoichi. After a few seconds, the boy felt himself get worried. Why would she be thinking hard about a comment like that? So Naruto's an orphan who doesn't know his parents, so what relevance does that piece of info have? The Nara failed to see how this warranted major thought, so he started to get worried that somehow the information was something he should have kept quiet. I don't know why she's thinking about it so hard, but I have to get her distracted. So, why don't you tell me about yourself? He asked suddenly. The pink-eyed girl looked at the boy in surprise, having been interrupted from her thoughts. Me? Why? What do you want to know? Well, you seem to be the leader of your team when your sensei isn't around, so there's got to be something special about you. And I'm just curious. Shikamaru shrugged, trying to justify the questioning. The black-haired girl thought to herself for a second if she actually wanted to share anything about herself. She took another look at Shikamaru, who was looking at her rather curiously. What the hell? I'm probably not even on the right path with my theory about the boy. For now, might as well enjoy a conversation with someone that isn't one of my idiotic teammates. Well, I guess the first thing you should probably know is that I'm the granddaughter of Onoki, our Tsuchikage. She mentioned. The kunoichi giggled when she noticed the surprised look on Shikamaru's face. You think that's surprising? Just you wait, 'cause I'll be the Tsuchikage soon myself. The old fart will retire soon because of his back and then I'll take the title. Give me 5 years tops. You seem confident in your abilities. The Nara noted with a smirk. Course I am. The person who knows you best and can judge you best is yourself. Kuretsuchi explained. What about you? You're a Nara, aren't you? I assume you're some genius. Shikamaru shrugged. Probably, but I really don't want to get myself tested or anything. I'd rather spend my time relaxing and watching clouds. Really? She questioned with a frown. Guess that makes you a lazy SS. The Nara groaned. Even the girl from Iowa. Troublesome. Why does everyone call me that nowadays? The two genin continued their search for firewood, chatting with each other about themselves. What started as an attempt from Shikamaru to stall the girl actually turned out to be a fun experience for the two. It was good to know that bad relations between their villages couldn't stop the two from making a friend in each other. Ah, come on. Naruto whined as he pulled back his fishing line. His bait was still visible and no fish was caught. Come on. I knew Konoha Shinobi soused, but I didn't know this bad. Roto laughed, still holding on to his fishing line. When duties were assigned, Roto led Naruto to a nearby lake to see if they could catch some fish for dinner that night. They had only been out for about 20 minutes, and Naruto had failed to catch anything. This was a strong contrast to the Iowa shinobi to his right, who had already caught 2 fish in the time. Oh, shut up. You're just lucky. Naruto huffed, turning back to the lake and sending his fishing line back into the lake. Well then, Lady Luck must really love me, because this seems more than coincidence. Roto noted with another laugh as he continued to stare at the lake. A minute passed before Naruto started to feel a little tugging. The blonde immediately reacted with excitement as he started reeling in. He forgot about all of his past failures in the lake today and just imagined the delicious fish he was about to bring into camp. Said imagination disappeared the second Naruto pulled up his line. Not only was there no fish, but the bait was gone. A fish had eaten it and got away, leaving Naruto empty-handed. Oh, come on, he shouted, pounding his hand on the ground near the lake in frustration. What the hell is wrong with me? Coming from an outside source, a lot of things. Roto replied. There was more venom and less humor in this statement. Naruto prepared an argument back for the Iowa ninja but stopped when he noticed the boy's line tugging. The sunglasses-wearing shinobi began pulling in carefully. When he finished bringing his line up, he had found a large fish caught on it. Guess that makes number 3. And it hasn't even been 30 minutes yet. Lucky day so far. Roto laughed as he tossed the fish to the pile where his other caught fish were. Naruto watched the Iowa shinobi prepare his fishing line once again with envy. Why am I having such a hard time and he isn't Dadbao? A part of Naruto wanted to be jealous and fumed that he was being shown up by an Iowa shinobi. Another part, however, was really wanting to catch some fish and bring some to his team. This part really wanted to learn what he was doing wrong. In the end, the latter part of his mind won. Hey, Roto. Naruto mumbled, looking down to the ground for a second. Roto turned to the Konoha shinobi and looked at him, annoyed at being disturbed. Can you tell me what I'm doing wrong? The boy's request shocked the Iowa shinobi. The blonde, as Roto had seen him, had been stubborn, loud, annoying, and stupid all day so far. To see him asking for help was quite a surprise. His first initial response was to deny the request, not wanting to assist a Konoha shinobi. Still, he knew that any fish that the other boy caught would only go to the dinner. Well, your main problem is you rush. You don't wait long enough, thinking you feel something, and you end up pulling out nothing. I also think you may do too much of an initial pull when you are reeling in the fish. I don't think you actually hook any fish, but you instead just startle it and cause it to get away. That's what I think your main problems are. Roto informed him. Try it one more time and see. Naruto nodded and did exactly what the Iowa shinobi told him to do. After getting bait on his line, Naruto tossed in his fishing line and waited, keeping his eyes on the line. Now, just wait. Give the fish some time to come over and get the bait. Roto continued to instruct. Naruto nodded. You seem to know a lot about fishing. I should. It's one of my favorite hobbies after all. The sunglasses wearing ninja mentioned. Really? Naruto looked at him, curiously. Yup. Why do you think we are fishing instead of hunting for some animal? 'Cause I'm a fishing pro. Roto laughed. He looked over at the lake fondly as he prepared his own fishing line. My mom and dad would always take me fishing on some of the lakes near Iowa as a kid. We still go at least once a month. After all the time I've done it, I've picked up a love for it and I think I'm decent at it. Wow, that's pretty cool. Naruto noted, surprised. Yup, the boy mentioned as he tossed in his fishing line after his preparations. He waited right next to Naruto for his own fish. For a moment, Roto seemed to forget Naruto was from Konoha, and started to talk personally. You know, looking at a lake like this always makes me think. I always thought I was going to end up becoming a fisherman one day. I mean, I'm from a civilian family so I have no background as a shinobi in any way. My parents were shocked when I broke the news to them. Why'd you become one then? Naruto asked curiously. He, too, for a moment, forgot about Konoha and Iwa's feud. Right now, he was just curious about the boy next to him. Well, I love Iowa and I want to do my part for the village. The village has done so much for me and my family that I felt like I had to do something back for it, and what better way than defending it? The boy explained. It was then he realized who he was talking to, a ninja from Konoha. His eyes got a lot harder as he stared at Naruto. Naruto, however, didn't return the same hard glare. He actually gave him a smile and an understanding nod. I'm the same way for Konoha. I understand. We just want our village to succeed. And you know, we can help our villages accomplish that Dadbao. For the second time in a row, Roto was stunned by something Naruto had said. He was about to respond to it, but was stopped as Naruto felt his fishing line tug. Hey, it's tugging. He cheered. Be careful this time. Make sure you actually hook the thing in and reel it in. The boy instructed. Naruto nodded and took careful note of the other boy's words. After he finally reeled in his fishing line, the blonde was surprised to see a large fish attached to the hook. The surprise soon turned to joy as he took the fish off and held it in his hands excitedly. Hey, look Roto, I caught one. Naruto grinned, holding up his fish proudly. Not bad, for a Konoha shinobi. He mumbled sarcastically. Truth be told, the boy was impressed by the fish's size. Still, he couldn't help but throw in a dig against Konoha. Hey, Naruto shouted, ready to defend his village. The two boys continued to fish for another 30 minutes before turning back to camp with 10 fish. During the time they spent, the two competed against each other and tried to outdo each other. They would make sarcastic and rude comments about each other and the other's village, but the venom in their comments seemed to have vanished. It was all in play and good fun this time. The two boys, perhaps, were on their way to putting the rivalry between Konoha and Iowa to the side. Hinata had always been shy and introverted. In recent days she had been getting more talkative and open with the people around her, mostly thanks to Naruto, Shikamaru, and Anko, but she was still rather quiet. Right now, Hinata was going beyond being rather quiet. Risho and Yen were engaging in conversation similar to the ones she and her team had with the merchant on the first day of the mission. The Hyuga heiress had tried to enter the conversation herself a couple of times, but the Iowa shinobi would always interrupt her or ignore any point she made. He was actively ignoring her and trying to keep Yen away from talking with her. So Risho-sama, why don't you tell me a little about your clan? I think I've heard the name before. Yen asked, trying to learn as much as he could about the Iowa shinobi he would be traveling with. Risho's eyes seemed to have lit up with pride as he started to speak. I come from the Kurogane clan, one of the 3 elite clans of Iwagakure. My clan is held in high regard by all shinobi thanks to our Kekkei Genkei, the Iron Release. Our abilities have made members of my clan the main force of Iowa's shinobi forces. Hinata sighed as she listened in. Risho continued to go on and on about his clan and how special and Elite, they were. He went into great detail on the clan head and the well-known members of the clan, and answering questions that Yen hadn't even asked. All of this was told in a very prideful tone of voice. The sad part to Hinata, however, was that this wasn't the first time she dealt with someone like this. He reminds me of some of the other main branch members in my clan. The Hyuga heiress realized with a groan. I seriously hope I don't sound like this whenever someone asks me about my clan. You know, your clan reminds me of the Hyuga clan that Hinata's from. They sound just as powerful and respected. Yen noted to himself, pleased with the comparison. This conversation was proving to be very enlightening to the merchant, as he was starting to be able to make connections and comparisons between the shinobi villages. Risho wasn't as thrilled with this comparison. He scoffed loudly before continuing. Please. The Hyuga hold no candle to the might of the Kurogane clan. We are an elite that surpasses any clan from other villages, especially ones from Konoha of all places. The lavender-haired heiress stiffened at his words. In addition to all the excess pride and arrogance, Risho was very keen on saying things to insult Konoha, and by proxy, her. He had no idea that he could be offending her, or if he did, he didn't care. Yen would often try and say something polite about Konoha to balance off his hate, but Risho would just shut down whatever he would say. The conversation would then continue, getting even more awkward for Hinata. Please. Naruto, Shikamaru, Anko-sensei, get over here. She pleaded, hoping to have someone to either talk or to help alleviate the awkwardness. Hinata's wishes weren't granted for another 20 minutes. Shikamaru and Kuretsuchi came back, holding a couple of logs and chatting amiably. Naruto and Roto also came back around the same time, carrying back the fish they caught. Relief spread over the girl as she was able to converse amongst her friends and not have to listen to Risho talk. After a few minutes, Roto started to prepare and cook the fish. The ninja and Yen watched, each one staring hungrily at the cooking fish. Looks pretty damn tasty, doesn't it? A voice notes with the same hunger. Everyone nearly jumps up in surprise as they turn to face the voice. They see Anko standing around grinning as if she had been there the entire time. Naruto wasn't having any of that. Where the hell were you, Anko-sensei? And you better damn well not think you are getting any of the fish. Naruto shouted at her angrily. You better believe I am. I'm your sensei, so I order you. She replies with a scoff. As for where I was scanning the nearby area for any enemy ninja or thugs. You all will be pleased to know that there was a group of bandits around near the edge of the forest waiting for nighttime. So I killed them and set up traps for any other possible intruders. That a good enough explanation for where I was? Anko's students gulped at her words. Anko had no problem talking about killing, which sometimes actually bothered the younger, more innocent ninja. Hinata, who still remembered the feeling of taking a life, shuddered the most among the three. Nevertheless, the three didn't say anything about their discomfort. They just listened to their sensei's words and left it at that. After a few more minutes, the fish was finished cooking. Everyone immediately started to dig into the food. In the middle of the dinner, however, Hinata felt like she had to address something. Where is Han-san? Shouldn't he be eating with us? She stuttered out nervously to the Iowa ninja. Kuretsuchi frowned in response. He spends all of this time by himself. He'll only come back when it's time to sleep, in which case he will take watch for any possible enemy that could attack at night. Otherwise, you won't see him here. He pretty much hates interacting with people. That's an understatement. Anko noted bitterly in her head. No conversation carried from that point. The shinobi and Yen ate the rest of their fish in silence. By the time they had finished, night was coming around and a figure could be seen walking towards camp. As it got closer, it revealed itself to be Han. Han-sama. There you are. Yen cheered at the sight of the Iowa Jonin. Where were you all this time? Resting. After all, I am going to be the one to stay up and keep watch. Han replied simply as he turned his head to the genin. It's late. You should all be getting sleep. The man spoke with a demanding tone. None of the genin were up to the task of denying his request. The 6 of them, plus Yen, all bid everyone good night before going off to their sleeping bags. Han then turned his attention to Anko. You should sleep as well. It's a long ways to Konoha after all. Han informed her. PSH. I'm fine. I can stay up with you, or even take your place. I already was scanning for enemies earlier anyway. Anko informed him. No, I'll be the one to stay awake. I admit that I got some rest since the time of our last conversation. Now it is your turn. Go to sleep, Han ordered, staring intently at the woman. Anko may have been a stubborn woman, but even she knew a battle that she wasn't going to win. With a heavy sigh, she went over to her own sleeping bag and prepared for sleep. 30 minutes passed before she, and the others, fell asleep. Han continued to stay up alone, just the way he wanted it. Hours had passed and it was now deep into the night. All the shinobi, minus Han, were asleep in their sleeping bags in the camp, with one other exception. Bathroom. Naruto grumbled tiredly as he got up from his sleeping bag. The blonde walked in a sleep days away from camp to do his business. After he had finished, the boy walked back with full intention of going back to sleep. Good evening, Naruto-san. Having trouble sleeping? Naruto's eyes shot wide open in surprise as he started to scan the area for the voice that scared him. It took him a few seconds to find the source of his voice, Han, who was sitting on the ground by the fire with a cup of tea in his hands. Hey Han. Naruto sputtered nervously. No, I'm not. I just woke up and had to take a piss. The Iwa Jonin raised his eyebrows in response to his words. I see. After a little while, Naruto got over the initial shock of running into the man and was now curious about him. The elusive Iwa Jonin had kept to himself the entire time at camp, only coming back at night to take over watch for the ninja and sending them to bed. This was the first time Naruto would actually have the opportunity to speak to the man, and for some reason, he really wanted to. Screw sleep, I'm probably not going to get this opportunity again. Naruto concluded as he turned to face Han and spark up some conversation. So how's the watch going? Any enemies found? I have a clone patrolling the area and set up multiple traps in addition to the ones your sensei set up. Needless to say, no, I have not found any. Han answered as he took a sip of tea. Oh, that makes sense. Naruto responded dumbly. Then can't you go to sleep too with all the stuff set up? I'm still keeping watch in case someone got past my clone and through the traps. Besides, I prefer to stay up. I like to watch the stars. The Jonin replied. The armor-wearing shinobi turned his head upward to the skies and let out a sigh. Look at them. Not a care in the world. Away from the entire world and everything on it. I can't help but be jealous. That's like a depressing version of Shikamaru's thoughts. Naruto noted in shock. So, out of curiosity, how does Konoha treat you? How are they with the fox? Han asked nonchalantly. Naruto immediately stiffened. How the hell does he know about that? The older ninja noticed his surprise and fright, so he decided to explain. Relax, I merely sense his chakra from you. I'm a Jinchuriki as well, so I mean you no harm. Naruto's surprise turned to confusion. Jinchuriki. He repeated the word. A demon container. Han replied. Naruto's eyes widened exponentially, realizing what he meant. Just as you are the container of the Kyuubi, I am the container of the Gobi, or the five-tailed dolphin horse. We are both Jinchuriki. Everything started to click in Naruto's head. The loneliness in his eyes that matched his own. The strong desire Naruto had to speak to him. It all made sense now. You are just like me. Naruto mumbled in realization. There are people in the world just like me. Correct. There are 9 of us somewhere in the shinobi world, one for each of the tailed beasts. We are what both humans and demons refer to as Jinchuriki. So, then you also had the same kind of life too. Alone? Hated? Judged? Naruto asked quietly, repeating some of the feelings he felt growing up in Konoha. Yes, an orphan whose parents died long ago, chosen to become the container of the Gobi. I grew up surrounded by the same prejudice and scorn that you were. All Jinchuriki, as long as their secret is known, have. Han mentioned. His normal tone of voice switched to a softer, more saddened tone. Naruto actually gave a smile as he faced Han. Well, the feelings got better over time. That's one good thing at least. Still, it feels weird to finally meet someone who understands, someone who actually is just like me. Yes, you are correct. It is nice to be around others like us. Humans can't understand us. They never try to after all. The Jonin stated bitterly. Naruto noticed venom in Han's words. The way he said, human, was equivalent to how Risho and Roto would say, Konoha, or how Naruto himself would say, Iwa. There was deep venom in his words, which took the boy by surprise. Is being a Jinchuriki why your students say you aren't a people person? Naruto questioned, wanting to know why there was such venom in that one word. Han scoffed at his words. Yes, that is correct. What's the point of being around humans? They are hateful, disgusting creatures who look down upon anything that's not like them. They are even against their own kind, such as how our villages hate each other. I don't like associating myself with their kind. A cold spell shivered down Naruto's spine. Han's words were getting increasingly more sharp and poisonous. The scary part was, though, that Naruto partly agreed with them. He knew many people in Konoha who fit the description Han was giving. They hated him and treated him as if he was below them for being the Kyuubi. They didn't give him a chance, they just hated him. Naruto also realized that Han had a point about hating other enemy shinobi. The blonde himself possessed such thoughts, and he felt increasingly guilty for thinking badly of Iowa shinobi such as Roto. Still, not every human is like that though. I know quite a few who are different. They are my friends. The boy informed him. As much as he agreed with the points Han was making, he knew many exceptions. His teammates, Anko sensei, Iruka sensei, the Hokage, Shikamaru's parents, multiple people came to mind when he thought about exceptions. I also think that with hard work, we can change their minds. We can make them understand us. Humans, understand, please. And as for your friends, they are only human. They will turn on you one day. The Iowa Jonin replied matter-of-factually. You don't know that. Naruto shouted back, defending the people who accepted him. Come on, you know not everyone is like that. Don't you have some friends? Han turned away from the boy and stared back up to the stars. He took a deep breath before he speaking again. I am friends with a couple of horses and another Jinchuriki, a fellow shinobi of Iowa. However, I know that's not what you meant. You mean human friends. Well, when I was your age, yes. 2 of them. They were my genin teammates. They were originally afraid of me due to the Gobi, but after a few weeks of training and getting to know each other, they saw me differently than before. They saw me as Han. He reminisced. What happened? Naruto asked quietly. Quote. Han took a sip of tea before speaking again. You are familiar with the Third Shinobi World War, aren't you? The one that made your Yondaime the most hated man in Iowa. Not that I actually hate the man, not any more than I hate other humans. Naruto merely nodded in response. Good. So you know Iowa and Konoha were enemies in the war. Do you know about the Tsuchi no Yama incident? The older shinobi questioned. Naruto shook his head in response, which caused Han to sigh. Then prepare for a long explanation. Tsuchi no Yama was the name for an Iowa base near the Tsuchi no Kuni, Kusa no Kuni border near a mountain. The majority of Iowa shinobi were placed there in order to defend the border and prevent any enemy shinobi from getting into our country's border, and by proxy, from getting into Iowa. Many were also stationed there before getting sent to different battleground sites. The base was where I was stationed permanently during the war. I was Iowa's defensive tool during the war. Han explained. Naruto flinched at the way the man said the word tool. Our enemies knew how important the base was to Iwa's plans, so they constantly attacked in order to claim it. All attempts failed. I personally saw to that. But that didn't stop them from trying. Eventually, they stopped their direct attacks and switched to using spies. These spies would sneak in and either steal valuable information or find ways in order to sneak enemy shinobi into the base for a surprise attack. Konoha sent one infamous spy from the Sarutobi clan. This one, well, we had trouble with him for some reason. We finally found about him and his presence in the camp when it was too late. He had gotten his allies into the base and they launched their surprise attack. I engaged the spy to the best of my abilities. He, however, had apparently been in the base for a while and had done his research on me and my fighting style. In the battle, he had me on my last rope, near death. I was worried of failing to protect Iwa and losing the base. I was worried that my mistake would give Konoha the opportunity to invade Iwa. I was worried for my friends. My fear made me angry and it made me vulnerable. Han took a second to stop his speech. His words started to get slower. So, the Gobi took advantage of my weakened state and took control. Naruto's eyes nearly shot out of his head. The beast, the Gobi, it took control. It took a few minutes before Han continued his speech. His voice was notably more bitter and disappointed. With the Gobi's power, I defeated and killed that damn spy. However, Gobi just had a taste of blood and he wanted more. I was in such a weak state of mind that I couldn't fight him and take back control. So the Gobi wreaked havoc in the real world. By the time I was back in control, the Gobi had massacred all of the Iwa shinobi in the base. Everyone was dead. Everyone died. The Gobi killed. Naruto repeated the information in head, scared. His thoughts were interrupted by Han continuing again. Needless to say, the loss of the base was devastating. It's considered one of the main reasons Iwa lost the war, in addition to your Yondaime. So, a good part of the blame for the loss goes directly to me. Iwa didn't particularly like me before the war. Naruto-san, how do you think Iwa treated me after that? The Jonin asked bitterly. Naruto didn't have to give an answer. They both knew. They must have seen him as more than a demon. And your friends? The blonde asked nervously, remembering how this topic even started. Same as everyone else. They turned on me like all of Iwa. I was no longer Han to them. I was that damn demon horse. Han shouted out. His eyes lit up red with anger and steam poured out of the furnace on his armor. Killing intent leaked off Han that made Naruto nearly passed out. He had never experienced anything like this before in his entire life. The boy stared in awe at the man in front of him. He's so angry, so alone. Is this what I could become? Naruto wondered sadly. After a moment, Han calmed down. He turned to face the frightened genin with softer eyes. Forgive me, Naruto-san. I usually have better control over my emotions. Sometimes they can burst out, though. The man informed him as he bowed his head in apology. I also didn't intend for my words to frighten or upset you. I was just trying to warn you. It's very possible that in a moment of weakness, the Kyuubi could take over your body and the people around you, even your friends, will judge and hate you. I'm just warning you to be careful of the fox and take care of yourself. I trust my friends, Naruto said quietly, as if trying to convince himself. For your sake, I hope they can be trusted. Han replied sadly. Anyway, I recommend you go back to bed. You have a busy day tomorrow, I bet. Naruto nodded and got up quietly. Han bowed and bid him good night. Naruto did the same and went back to his sleeping bag. The boy could no longer sleep. His mind was running rampant with thoughts about Han's words and life. Is that what could happen to me? Will the fox take over? Could that get my friends to turn on me like his did? Naruto questioned. Wait. What if I kill them? The Gobi killed many shinobi from Iwa. What if the Kyuubi makes me do the same thing? Naruto remained awake for at least an hour, dealing with his internal thoughts. By the time he was able to fall asleep, he was plagued by nightmares of the future. Away from the camp, on the other side of Tenchi Bridge, two men dressed in black cloaks with red clouds on them had set up a camp of their own. Despite how late at night it was, the two men were wide awake. The first man was a tall, muscular man with tan skin. He had on a white hood and a black mask that covered his face. The mask had the headband for Takigakure on it, with the symbol for the village having a cut through it. The man was staring into the night sky and the moon intently. The second man was a little shorter than the first man, but was equally muscular and had a more youthful air around him. He had dark skin, spiky white hair, and brown eyes. He wore a headband for Kumogakure around his neck with the same cut through the symbol as his partner's headband. He was currently fidgeting with a long, silver rod that he had in his hands. The rod had a sharp point at the end and the kanji for thunder was engraved on it. Kakuzu, are you sure we have to wait for the morning? I'd want to get this over with already. The man with the rod mumbled in complaint. You are going to have to wait, Nasumureta. The leader mentioned, framing the Konoha shinobi with the disappearance of the Gobi Jinchuriki, so it would be unwise to attack while they are present. We'd end up killing them as well, which would just make this disappearance suspicious to the world. The taller man, Kakuzu, replied. He seemed to be thoroughly annoyed with his partner. I get that, but still. I just wish we could get this over with already. I'm not interested in interfering with the lives of Iwa shinobi. I'd much rather be going after the Kumo Jinchuriki. The second man, Nasumureta, whined. Your hatred for your home village is ridiculous and is starting to get annoying. Kakuzu mentioned, giving his partner a glare. Oh come on, don't deny you wouldn't want to do that to the Jinchuriki Taki has. The white-haired man pointed out. Maybe, but I will take advantage of that when the time comes on. Now, shut up before I kill you. Kakuzu informed him. Like you could. Nasumureta scoffed as he pointed his rod at his partner. Yup. I am definitely killing him. After we capture the Gobi and extract it, I am killing this brat and collecting the high bounty Kumo has on his head. The man from Taki noted darkly. Silence filled the air between the two men for an hour or two. Both men remained awake, however, waiting for the first opportunity to strike once Konoha and Iwa separated. So, the plan the same one we discussed earlier, right? Nasumureta asked his partner. The younger man had a more serious and darker tone to his voice. Correct. I gathered detailed information from my confidants in Iwa and I've learned some things about Han. Our strategy should be able to dispose of him. We just have to be careful, because he is a careful and dangerous opponent. Kakuzu informed his partner. The older man actually seemed like he was looking forward to this fight. I know. No way in hell I'm understanding this guy. The former Kumo ninja agreed. And his genin and the merchant. They won't garner much price on the black market, but we can always see when we get there. They should be killed as well. His partner replied. Understood. Nasumureta, after speaking, raised his rod up into the sky and pointed it directly at the moon. The man's face picked up a sadistic grin as he stared intently at the moon. You know, I take it back what I said earlier about not caring about this. I'm excited. After tomorrow, we're one step closer to peace. We're closer to our control. He said excitedly. We are one step closer to achieving Akatsuki's goal. He exclaimed, emphasizing each word and getting louder. Soon, the younger man burst into laughter at whatever mental image was going on his head. Bipolar idiot. First he was whining, then rational, and now he's raving about peace. Kakuzu sighed in annoyance. He was having no second thoughts about his plan to murder his partner. Still, he couldn't deny his partner's words. Tomorrow was going to be the day where everything changed. Tomorrow was the dawn of Akatsuki.